Hey, what's up, everybody? Video 44 coming at you with another video. Alright, so there's no Laker basketball being played today. There are some play-in tournament games that will be played, but I'm thinking about my Los Angeles Lakers. We'll see what this video turns into because I don't really have an idea necessarily about a theme here, as usual. But I was mulling over some roster thoughts in regards to our Los Angeles Lakers up against this Memphis Grizzlies. And I can kind of mull over that and see what happens there. So I do believe that D'Angelo Russell, with his foot, may not necessarily be able to give us as much as what we're going to expect from him without having to miss games in between it. Meaning, if we play him a 39 minutes and have him running around trying to guard people he has no business guarding, there's a good chance that that foot and those calluses are going to flare up in such a way that makes it so that we don't have him for the fullness of the series. We're going to have to hide him, and we're going to have to use him with that understanding in mind. I know Dennis Schroeder has been banged up. Of course, he was the hero in the last game, but he's been banged up, and I don't know if I want to overuse him necessarily in this situation, but I think he should kind of have more floor time in this series while D'Angelo Russell is continuing to trying to manage what those calluses are providing him in terms of pain, which will ultimately determine how well he's able to kind of get up and down and do some of the things we need him to do, and maybe even mechanics of his shot and things of that nature. So I got that in mind, and I'm not heaping expectations on him the same way I was before I knew what it was. It's just it's a pain management thing, just like AD and Bron. And so we got all three of our core essentially dealing with foot problems, and we have to respect that as we go into this series. That's why I want us to play more of our players, get them in positions to get more minutes than maybe we would otherwise want to if our guys were 100%. I do think that when I look at Shaq Harrison, the new player that we just picked up, he looks like he's probably one of the best conditioned athletes on this team right now. He's really, really in shape. And I look at Ja Morant, I'm like, I don't know how much Shaq is going to do on the offensive end. I haven't seen Shaq play in years. But I know if I trust any one body, physical body, to chase around Ja Morant right now on this roster, it's probably him. And I think he was put on this roster with the intentions of having some time on the floor to some degree. I don't know if they want to put him in a prominent role since he hasn't been with our team like that. That's probably a mistake. And if you couple that with putting Double T on the floor at the same time or something like that, it could be a nightmare. Those guys don't know what they're doing in regards to our team. So we need to be very careful not to be stupid about just throwing people on the floor like we've been complaining about, but more so being methodical about the types of rotations that we put out there and making them make sense for what it is we're doing versus what it is we're used to, which is tricky. It's tricky for anybody. And so I know it's going to be tricky for Darvin. And so this is a series where you definitely understand that, as mentioned on ESPN and as clearly seen on the schedule, the first couple of games are going to be spaced out pretty nicely. You got like 2 or 3 days between the first 2-3 games. As the series progresses, those games get tighter and tighter. That window of rest becomes less and less frequent. We need to understand that the series needs to end early if we're favored to win. Because if we have less rest, we see how we handle less rest. We saw that in the Clipper game. If we're tired, we tied. You know what I mean? We're not going to have a lead. We're probably going to be down at the end of the game fighting for our lives. So overtime, all kinds of craziness. We don't want that. So we got to keep ourselves fresh, and I think that when a playoff series, you definitely want to make sure your matchups make sense, but you also want to make sure that you utilize everything you have. One of the things that I say about our team every day is that we're deep and that we're leaving a lot of production on the board. Well, that's okay in the regular season, but in the playoffs, you definitely don't want to do that because the main thing you have to be able to manage is everybody's health. And the one thing that I understand about this time of year is everybody's tired to a degree. Everybody's banged up with something. But when you look at our team, Lonnie Walker, Max Christie, those guys ain't banged up with nothing. They ain't been playing at all, and they're highly capable of doing things. I think we should deploy them a bit throughout the playoffs here and there to give some of our other guys rest because they have been running all season long. A guy like Austin Reeves should be pretty banged up right now, pretty tired. Schroeder, same thing. Obviously, our big guys, all of them, banged up. But I look at those two players and I say, them dudes ain't played in a while. They're fresh, capable. I looked at Max Christie. His conditioning is right. He's in the gym. I know he doesn't have the experience. You're afraid to play him in the playoffs. But me, I'm not afraid to put him in positions to do what it is I know he's good at, which is defend people. Defend people. Max Christie is going to defend. He's going to use his length to go left and right. We've talked about it all the time. I don't want to bore you with the same old song, but I do believe with him having absolutely and utterly fresh legs and being a young pup that actually has athleticism and length and can run all day long, it would be foolish not to give Austin Reeves a breather. It would be foolish not to use that piece in regards to your matchups. It's foolish. I'm just going to tell you right now. It's justifiable in the sense that he's a rookie and hasn't had the experience, blah, blah, blah. But it's not justifiable in the sense that is a very, very, very capable wing. And the league needs wings. The league is built on trying to defend wings. And that's one of our very best that we don't use. And you look at Troy Brown. I love Troy Brown's upside, but I think Max Christie has even more. He's just going to be a better player in my mind. And the length is there just like him. He has the ability to rebound just like they basically play the same kind of style. They both can hit threes. It's like we just don't use Max enough to utilize Max's ability and upside. We didn't use him enough so we can get some of that experience throughout the regular season to get used to playing NBA floor, get used to people flopping off of him, get used to learning how not to foul. Those things had to be learned throughout the season. And our coach neglected to do that because of the need to play Patrick Beverley, the need to play Dennis Schroeder so much, the need to play Malik Beasley now. These are things that left us without the experience in Max Christie that would otherwise help us more so in the playoffs than those other pieces ultimately will be able to, given the fact that, well, one of them's gone and the other two, it is what it is when it comes to Malik Beasley. We've talked a lot about it. I don't want to get into that at all. I just think that it's just low-hanging fruit at this point to continue to kick him in the circumstance. Everybody's heard what I had to say. Everybody knows what it is. I think he can really help us if utilized properly. He's a weapon. But I only need him to be a weapon. I don't need him slotted in to play regular rotation minutes because he can't guard certain people. He can't do certain things, blah, blah, blah. Max can, is essentially what I'm saying to you. His piece with his length, his height, it makes sense to slot him in where you're putting Malik Beasley. It makes a lot of sense on both sides of the floor and for your rebounding. And so that's why I'm so intent on saying this, is because I know this for a fact. It's not something I'm confused about. It's just something that Darvin is choosing not to do so that he can get the possibility of Malik Beasley blowing the game open with a couple threes, which may not go. And as a result, while that's happening, all kinds of other stuff is happening too that ain't good. So it's like, if we get away from that and then slide in the Max Christie lengthy piece, when we sit down Austin Reeves, you bring in that tall guy that's just as tall and long as him. You sit down, D'Angelo Russell, and then again you're bringing in yet another person that's just as long. It just makes so much more sense than what we're doing from a size standpoint, from a length standpoint. You got Troy Brown. You never ever have any times on the floor where you don't have length, unless you put Malik Beasley on the floor, as to which you do. You simply do. And that's the problem, because length is what makes this team as special as it is, because every piece has it except for Dennis Schroeder. But when you put Dennis Schroeder and Malik Beasley on the floor together, which he loves to do, then you have that. Or you put Lonnie Walker in situations on the floor with Dennis Schroeder and Patrick Beverley, then you have that. Those are the things that our coach was doing all year long, while we had pieces that were lengthy the whole damn time. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, yo, bro, please stop being who you are as it pertains to this particular thing, Darvin. And I know you'll see the fullness of what it is that we can do here with this roster if you just stop that particular thing. And it's the only thing. I'm telling y'all, as sure as my name is BDF44, that's the only thing that's keeping this team, holding them back. Because every time we do it, it gives you the mediocrity that everybody complains about. It gives us that deficit that ultimately makes it so that our team has to claw back. It is when everything goes bad every night. I don't think people really understand that. It's when. The one thing that everybody says, oh, the Lakers are just not focused at it. Not all of it. All of it comes down to just during key moments at a time, our coach leaves us at such a disadvantage that ultimately makes it so that we have to fight every night. That is that thing there. The small ball thing. That's it. Everything else, smooth sailing. Best defense in the league. And you'll never be without the best defense in the league because you got yet another fantastic defensive piece that you're not using in Max Christie. So you're going to lock people up even more. And so it's like, oh, God, man, why do we make life so hard for ourselves just for an opportunity at a couple extra threes and a little more space for Bron? I don't need that space that much when I can do so much with everything else that other things bring me in place of that space. What extra space wouldn't Max Christie provide me? He's going to hit the threes too. What extra space wouldn't Lonnie provide me? He's going to hit those threes as well. The only reason why I'm not screaming for Lonnie is because I know he's not going to do as much on the defensive end, and I can only render him to the shooting guard position. I can't play him at the 3, can't play him at the 1. And so that makes him somebody I'm more likely to move away from than Max Christie, who I can play at the 3, the 2, and maybe even at the 4 in small ball situations, the way he rebounds and defends. This is why I'm screaming for Max Christie. But at this point, in all honesty, the part that is most important in regards to Max is that we haven't played him. So when you do send him out there, he's green. At this point, it doesn't have the effect that I want it to have because he hasn't been playing the whole damn time. And so he's going to go out there, make mistakes, turn the ball over, just do a bunch of rookie stuff that should have been worked out throughout this process leading up to now so he can be the damn piece that I'm talking about. That's the problem. Player development is the most important thing for all of these teams, man. I respect, all the different things, but at the end of the day, this is an asset business. You know that. Everybody knows that. So when you have dead assets or you in developing assets that are only halfway in for reasons that just are dingbatty, basically, it's like, you're leaving value on the floor and you're not making it easier on the players and you're not as good as your roster's supposed to be and a bunch of other stuff that just has already been said. And I'm telling you, it could be the thing we do that ultimately gets us beat if it doesn't work out with him shooting the ball. Now, if he's shooting well, boom, you got a piece. And I can deploy that piece at key moments in the game and sit him back down. This is how I envision a Malik Beasley piece or any piece like him. He comes in, bow, 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 a couple shots off, sit back down. When I need him to come in, he's going to let off a bunch of shots and he's going to sit back down because he's a weapon. I don't even do nothing else. I put him in situations where the lineups can cover up all his weaknesses, and I send him out there to do what it is that he does. He snipes a couple plays, particularly off of inbound plays where people running off of screens. He runs to the corner. I get him the ball. He hits the 3, comes back down, maybe hit another one. The other team calls a timeout. When they call that timeout, we coming back with somebody else. He ain't even on the floor no more. And there's going to be a lot of people like, why don't you continue to play him if he's hot? Well, maybe I do, but I'm going to deploy him when I need him, not necessarily just to be having him out there. Now, if he's scorching, he's scorching. But if he's not scorching, we're leaving so much defensively open. We're bricking shots so our offense is off, and then it translates to bad defense because he's not going to be very good in transition as well. So it's a lot of stuff that just deteriorates. Now, the thing I like about Malik is he's going to drive at the rim. He understands on the offensive end. He can also put some pressure on the rim and get to the line. So he makes himself more so useful than just a shooter. He's smart, so he's going to find himself in positions to steal the ball and stuff like that. So he does help himself defensively in certain areas, but he's never rebounding over everybody. And he's going to be attacked defensively, so they're going at him and he's not getting stops. So it's just about respecting the weapon. Do I need the 3-point shots right now? Okay, bring him in. Boom, bow, bow, bow. Sit him back down. He's done his job. He's done his job. All he's going to do is hit threes any damn way. He's come in, he's shot off 3 or 4 threes, either made him or missed him. We sit him back down. I think Coach has been actually doing a pretty good job of deploying him out there, believe it or not. The way that Darvin has used him here and there throughout the last 10 games has actually been improving. But there are always them games or the moments where he puts him in at the wrong time. Again, when you need him, not just as your regular sub. Hell no, that regular sub should be that interchangeable piece that keeps the length that you always need at all times. Max Christie, D'Angelo Russell, Troy Brown, Rui Hachimura, you know what I'm saying? Austin Reeves. These players all got the length. They just keep us lengthy. They keep us rebounding. They keep us switchable. They keep us all that. until you put in that one piece or those two pieces that just are not going to make it so that everybody can rebound. And it makes it harder on the bigs. Then it makes it so that you're doing all types of stuff to try to keep your bigs in a position to have an advantage while you're too small in other areas. You know what I mean? And then you force yourself to play Troy Brown, even if he's not really playing well, to make up for the fact that you want to be small. It's like you don't have to be small. You don't have to play Troy Brown. What you do have to do is be able to work Max Christie into the process as your shooting guard when you want to sit down those other guys. And being comfortable putting Rui at the 3 more so that you can get away from Troy if he doesn't have it going, so that you're not rendered to having to play him when he doesn't have it going to keep yourself lengthy when you absolutely literally don't have to do that. And in the Vanderbilt process, he'll be on the floor same time, running around, jogging, doing nothing, because we can't seem to figure out a way to utilize him properly. We put him on the wrong people defensively, we're running plays for him offensively, and he ends up with nothing. 4 rebounds, a block, and a bunch of fouls. It's like, bro, you're not using the player right. Study how Minnesota used him. They brought him off of the bench. They put him in certain situations that made sense for what his piece was. Study how Utah used him. They were able to get 14, 15 rebounds out of him. 5 assists, 6 points, 3 steals. You're not getting that production out of him, Darvin, because you ain't using him in the way that they did. You're trying to run plays for him, trying to turn him into Chris Webber, some weird stuff. It's not going to work. You know what I'm saying? It's getting to a point where it's like, yo, if we're not going to utilize the pieces correctly, and then we're going to forego using the pieces that help complement those pieces properly, it's going to be a bunch of stuff that's going to make your roster look less than what it is, which is what I complain about ad nauseum. But it's not something that is too difficult to use as it pertains to this roster. Anybody with a half of imagination is going to be able to wipe teams out with this roster, because that's what it's going to do naturally. We got Anthony Dang Davis down there and Mo Bamba. Do you know how much length you got right there? You have any idea how hard it is to score in the paint? How hard it is to stop them from offensive rebound? How hard it is to keep them off the defensive glass? How hard it's going to keep them from shooting the ball? They're huge, and they shoot. It's like these type of dynamics while we sitting here trying to launch bricks from behind the arc. It's like, yo, we can kill teams 7 different ways. Put Rui on the floor. Put Wenyen on the floor with AD, with Austin Reeves, with D'Angelo Russell, and you're going to run the score up. They're going to play defense. You're going to have rest for Bron, rest for Schroeder. It's like so many different things we can do. But we put ourselves in a position, okay, our second unit is absolutely trash. We're going to make sure that we have holes all over that second unit. We're going to botch that. The player's going to struggle. He's going to get away from them because they miss shots, and he's going to put in some more guys. Maybe that works. Overuse a guy who's probably tired because of that, and then not use the rest of the guys behind him. It's like, stop it, dude. Just don't do any of that and do all that other stuff that we've been suggesting instead. And I promise you, the team will just win, because the roster's going to win. But the process of making it tough for you will put you in positions to lose. And one of the weaknesses of our team is that we don't manage clock very well down the stretch of basketball games. So why the hell would we want to make a path more difficult for us to win if we don't close properly? You know, and it's like when you do stuff that's mediocre, it leads you into your weaknesses, and then from there you get the results that make you a loser. I'm trying to get my organization to understand that. And we got a coach that just wants to just lean in on stuff that makes him a loser. And then every night we complain about it, he just sits there like, well, we're trying, but guys aren't trying hard enough. I'm like, no, friend, no. See what it is that everybody's telling you and make the changes so that you can see the fullness of your roster, so you're not going to be blamed for its failures at the end. Because that's exactly what it's going to be if they fail, and it's the strategy that gets us beat. Now, if one of these players run out to the 3-point line and foul somebody, that ain't on the coach. If these players can't hit a free throw, that ain't on the coach. Although he should put the right free throw shooters on the floor at the right times, that is on the coach. But nevertheless, if players don't perform, it's only but so much the coach can do once he's done his job and put them on the floor to do things properly. But if he don't put on the floor to do things properly, you know what I'm saying? They're just going to be at a disadvantage, etc., etc. So that is what I want to say about that. I want rotations to make absolute sense. I don't want to be angry every night. I don't want to have heart attack games every night because this guy wants to put stuff on the floor that he knows damn well isn't going to work. And that's exactly what I expect to see. So I'm already irritated before he even starts. You know what I'm saying? If utilized correctly, Malik Beasley can always be a fresh piece that's ready to shoot teams down at random. That's what I love about Malik Beasley. This is a situation just like with Patrick Beverley. I say if the coach knew what the hell he was doing with the piece, we would have a fantastic piece. Yeah, he's in a slump, but I don't give a damn about that. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? You get out of the slump, he's a shooter. He's a real shooter. He's a damn talented one. And that's the part that irks my soul when I think about complaining about Malik Beasley every day. It's like, yo, I believe in the piece, yo. And I think I know how to use him, too. It's not even about me wanting to kick him off my team. I'd like him at a lesser price so he's not eating away at the cap in a way that doesn't make any sense for what it is I want to do, but that's just my preference. He's earned his money. He's a good piece. He just doesn't need to be used this way. Same thing with Wenyen Gabriel when we put him all these big players and stuff like that. That ain't how Wenyen's game's supposed to go. Wenyen Gabriel's a fantastic forward. Power forward. You put him next to a center like Mo Bamba, they're going to eat glass. They're going to put back. The score's going up, baby. The score's going way up. And we don't even try that. It's like the stuff that we do try doesn't work. The stuff that I think we should try, I think will. And that's frustrating. That's it. That's what it is, man. I don't want to get into a cussing match or start putting out energy that reflects that. I just want to say that. That's what it is. I'm very frustrated. I don't want to not be. So I want my team to get on board with playing size or work. Let it work. What you're doing, make it work. Make it so that we're not losing these games. You know what I mean? And make sure that our tendencies make sense. If we're not shooting well from behind the arc, let's not strategize ways to shoot more threes. If we're able and capable of driving into the paint and destroying a team that way, should be no settling. Do that. You know what I mean? And if it's a situation where LeBron James doesn't have the energy to do that, he has to get off the floor, man. This is not a situation where I want him settling for 3-point shots because he doesn't have energy. You know, you got to sit down. And you got to bring in the guys who do have energy. It's the playoffs. We don't want to settle for bad shots just because we're capable of hitting them sometimes. Because you're capable of getting hot once every 5 games from behind the arc does not mean you need to be attempting the same threes every night. Which he doesn't. But these are the type of things that I'm saying, like, I don't want to see in the playoffs. I don't want to see against Memphis. Yeah, these first couple of games against Memphis are so important. So if we come out flat and let them get 1 or 2, we can see ourselves in a real serious situation, as already stated, with those games smashed together like that. So being intentional on coming out and hitting this team in the mouth should be everything. And the fullness of our team makes us as great as we are. If we lean in on 7 or 8 guys and leave the rest of that production to sit, we're not as good as the field. We're not as good as some of these teams. I cannot stress this enough. It is because Max Christie and Lonnie Walker and Troy Brown and Rui Hachimura and Austin Reeves and Malik Beasley, Vanderbilt, Wenyen Gabriel. It's because those people are so productive. Bamba. That is why your team is good. Schroeder. You hear all them names? All them dudes is productive. You're going to find most of these teams do not have that. They don't. They think they have that. But when they call on them dudes, our guys are going to kill them. They're going to blow them out. They ain't as good. They're just not. I'm telling you that half of these benches can't see them dudes. And I didn't name AD. I didn't name Bron. I didn't name D'Angelo. I didn't name Shaq Harrison. I didn't name Tristan Thompson. You understand what I'm saying? There's a lot of names. That's a whole 5 right there of people that I didn't name. I didn't name Cole Swider. For some reason, it gets that deep in the bench. There goes another guy that could shoot in your face. We didn't use him because things went wrong. But that's a shooter. 3 years from now, I expect him to have a legitimate role in the playoff situation with us, hopefully. So it's like, I know what we got. Same thing with Scottie Pippen. If we have to dig deeper in our bench, if we get hit by the bug, like the injury bug, you're going to actually see how talented our team really is. He's going to force him into playing some of them players, and them players are going to ball out. I already know this. It ain't even a question in my mind. Deepest bench in the league. So, as far as I can tell, it's cool. It is cool that we do certain things and make life hard for ourselves in some games because the roster is going to make up for it. Anthony Davis is going to make up for it. He is. He gonna make up for it. He gonna make you look better. Bron gonna make you look better. This is a series for Bron. All of the basketball minds that I've listened to have been saying basically that he's the one piece that they're not gonna be able to do nothing with. They're gonna put Dillon Brooks on him pretty much all series, and I don't think Dillon Brooks is gonna do well with Bron because Bron is gonna get him in foul trouble. Bron gonna get him out of here, and he gonna score on him in other situations where he does it. He's not gonna be a problem. They're gonna have to put somebody else on Bron. I'm telling you right now, Dillon Brooks is too light in the back pocket, and he's a fantastic defensive player, but he's going to pick up fouls rather quickly. Way more often than he gets stops, in my humble opinion. This is just a series for LeBron James, man. But my thing is Bron 100%? He's selling for jump shots. He's not driving like he usually does. That's kind of what everybody's counting on, is him putting pressure on the rim. Maybe, if we got any sense, we will deploy Lonnie Walker a bit more for that same thing. Lonnie can do that. He ain't been used in weeks, but he can fly. So it's like, get him in the game for some of those plays that you want Bron driving at the rim. Deploy him just like I told you to deploy Beasley. When you need a couple threes, bing, 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 that's how you do it. When you need somebody to drive at the rim or get another couple bing, bing, bing offensive plays, you put Lonnie Walker on the floor with defensive players who can complement him. Rui Hachimura, Troy Brown, Dennis Schroeder, or what have you. You put him on the floor with Austin Reeves, whoever. You put him on the floor with people who can complement him on the defensive side, Vanderbilt, what have you, and then you deploy him as an offensive talent. You know, with Bamba on the floor in your second unit or something like that. That's how you use Yanni. You don't push him all the way to the back of the bench. You just give him a portion of the minutes that you're giving to people that you shouldn't be. When you give all those minutes to, you know who, Malik Beasley, hey, no, that's somebody you actually want to put on the floor instead. Some of those times. Just keep your fullness of your team fresh. It's less miles on everybody when you do it like that, and you acknowledge that your team is actually good enough to do it. That's the thing that pisses me off the most. It's like, are we acknowledging that we're just basically throwing away these great players? They don't actually suck, fam. Like, I can point out guys on the benches who, yeah, they probably shouldn't play him. Nah, he needs to sit. No, Lonnie needs to be on somebody else's team so he can be their starting shooting guard or primary backup. If he's that primary backup, he could play himself up into a role like Malik did. That's who he is. That's how good he is. Are we using him that way? No. It's because we can't seem to find minutes for him, which I think isn't really the case. We're just not doing it correctly. We ain't doing none of it right. So, of course, you ain't going to find minutes for him. So, I hope people have been able to see the vision that I have for this roster. I hope that I've been able to make that clear in all these dang videos that I've come up with, man. If you use these pieces correctly, you get the most out of all of them. Vanderbilt can play multiple positions. You don't have to render him to the 4, and you certainly don't need to pass to him. Is that clear, though? Like, seriously. Because I know I've said it a million times, but I don't think our team is really ready to grasp the fullness of Vanderbilt's weakness. I know I've verbalized this, but I'm going to say it in this video. He really doesn't catch well, man. He just doesn't catch the ball well. It's not 100% of the time that it's going to go off his hands, but more than not, it actually is more than not. And so it's like, all right, I'm extremely pleased that we picked up his option. I want this player on my team. Not concerned. I just know I can't pass him the rock. And I got to be at peace with that because I have pieces all over this team that I can pass the rock to and will. But if I keep giving him possessions every night, I give Beasley possessions that don't work out every night. And then I got to deal with the weaknesses of my stars, which is going to include turnovers. Both of them are going to cough the ball up. And Bron is going to shoot however he's going to shoot. And if it doesn't work out, he's taken away from you. Without the defense, too, sometimes if he ain't playing defense, you got that problem. So it's like it's too much for me to try to mask. For the coach to be doing all of this, it leaves all of that open. But look at this. When you play everybody in their positions properly, it settles all of that. It settles all of that. That is actually worked into the construction of the team. Bron's going to shoot more, so we have more players on the floor who can rebound. We got longer players who can actually rebound the ball around him. He's going to need sitting time. Okay, so we got players his size who can length up, match up all day long. If he has to sit games at a time, we can still match up with the entire league. And we also got a specialty shooting weapon that we can deploy at any time. Except for the fact that we use that weapon in a way that we're supposed to use another weapon that we're misusing. And then we're misusing another weapon a different way. And then we're leaning on this guy to do too much because we're not identifying the misuses of all of these different weapons. That is the fullness of the Los Angeles Lakers 2023. My name is BDO44. Thank you all for watching. I'm out.